some of the ones that I thought were interesting were um there's one that's called like the Downy Booger. Like that's literally its name, and it's from Alabama, which I guess there you go. But it's kind of like a Sasquatch, but it was more like an orangutan like thing, but because it was orange is colored, so and it uh looked human, but like with long hair, but they called it the Downy Booger, and I don't know why. Another was the Quaggle, which is, and I might be misspelling that, but it's kind of like raccoon, and uh, only bigger. Like so, it's like 5-6 feet tall, and it had like the head of a raccoon, but like kind of human like body, and
Never heard of this one before.
yeah, it's a like. Let me see. I think it's in book one. Uh, yeah, it's in Pennsylvania. The Gawaggle, and it was in Pennsylvania. Another one that I think is really cool is that I thought was cool is I think it's the Cabogan. Yeah, Cabogan, and it was off of New Zealand, and it was spotted by Japanese fishermen, and they always seem to find some really cool stuff. And that's those Japanese fishermen like the Cabogan. They also found like what they called the Antarctic Godzilla. But the Cabogan,
Because they're not really fishermen. They try to use the
yeah,
title fishermen, but they're
yeah,
actually the whalers, and they're going into areas where they're not supposed to be. So of course they're
exactly,
finding the weird stuff.
yeah, they're not supposed to be it. But like the Cabogan was in near New Zealand, and basically, Cabogan, I think it translates to giant hippo, is like what it means. But it came out of the water, and all they saw was its head, and it had two big red eyes and two big nostrils, and it scared the crap out of them. And the next day, some people in New Zealand, near where this thing was spotted, found these weird footprints on the sand that were, I think it was like three-toed, like giant, and whatever it was very heavy because it left a big imprint. Um, and they couldn't figure out because it didn't like the footprints were not native to any kind of species they had seen. So, but uh, so they think it was related to what the Japanese fishermen had seen, and so that was another one I thought was really cool. Ones that like I'm working on for like the next book that I really like. I have a couple that are interesting looking dudes. Um, it would be the I'm going to it's a Russian thing. It's called the Dravak, and again it's another like kind of twisted thing. It's folklore in that if you had a kid and you didn't get your child baptized and your child died, um, it would come back as a Drivek, and it was like a monstrous, like half human, half animal thing, and it would just attack. And the only way to stop it was to go baptize it. So I don't know who was chasing after these monsters and baptizing it, but somebody was. And
Somebody was
so
at least trying to.
exactly, yeah. So I think that again, like if you go back to it, that folklore comes from Russia, and it's kind of a Russian Orthodox thing. So I think it was probably started by the Russian Orthodox Church, meaning like, hey, you need to get your kids baptized, or it's going to turn into this, you know. And but I like to think it's true, and that there was a priest running around the woods throwing holy water on things, and like,
You gotta put them under the water. You gotta
yeah,
grab them and try to
yeah.
temporarily drown them.
But then that gets in like I know like there's like theological things where people actually get in debates of like how should someone be baptized, sprinkled, full submersion, and like it's like I would hope with this that you could just sprinkle it because man you'd have to wrestle it and get it in like that'd be trouble. That'd be a
Well, I know at least
troublesome.
the original version of baptism was that you'd hold somebody's head underwater until they became unconscious and they would meet God, and that was the whole like being reborn, being
Yeah,
baptized.
and then
So
just
just
leave
another
them.
side note as far as like Russian folklore goes, and that stuff is always so off the wall. Like I remember reading about some Russian folklore that it was basically saying don't buy black curtains because these black curtains will like murder you and like throw you out the window. Like normally the Russian stuff is just so obscure. It's fascinating even if it doesn't seem even remotely realistic in some stories.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like bizarre, like what people were doing. Another cool like folklore, and it's not necessarily a monster. It almost fits under the phantom or ghost. And I don't do too many of those because I don't know as much about ghosts as I have a buddy who is big in it, and he actually wrote a book too that I helped him edit. But it's called The Gray Man, and he was in South Carolina on this island, and supposedly it's a little bit different. Like it's kind of like a banshee, um, where he would appear before a major storm or hurricane. And the last time he was spotted was in 2018. But the lore is if you see the gray man, one, there's a major storm about to hit your area. But if you see him, it means you and your family and your property are going to be okay. So it's
It's a positive thing then.
yeah, it's a pilot. So it's not like the banshee where when you see or hear the banshee, someone in your family is going to die. Um, this is you see the gray man. Okay, there is a bad storm about to hit, but you're gonna be okay. So,